Okay, so I've never laid Karndean before, and nobody seems to be able to show me how to lay Karndean, so I decided I'm going to have a go myself before I document it for anyone else that's in a similar situation, because I have no idea. So here goes. So last night I did a feather screed on top of 12mm cement board just to even it out. As you can see, it's quite flat. This morning I've then gone over it with a sander just to scratch the surface a little bit, give it a bit more abrasion, and to level off some of the bits because I'm not that handy with a trowel. So basically that's the area that I've got to cover today. So we'll see how we go. I made the decision to go with a kind of staggered approach. So first things first is I need to work out whether or not I want to cut in that corner. That's where I've chosen to start, purely and simply because if I get all the cuts done along that one edge, I should then have a nice straight edge along there, which then should follow for the rest of it. It should be a pretty simple lay for the rest of it all the way back. So what I'm doing, I need to work out whether or not I want a design strip on the edge here. That's kind of personal preference, I think. I've got the benefit when I'm laying that I don't have to worry too much about these edges because I've got 18mm skirting boards to go over the top of them. But if you're laying it up to a skirting board, you've probably got a lot more that you need to be worrying about. And there's some official Karndean videos which tell you exactly what to do with regard to cutting the extra lengths when you're going up to a skirting board. Right, so as you can see, I've got to cut something here where I've got to go against the wall, so I need a nice close cut to the wall. Again, I've got skirting boards going down here, so for me it doesn't matter, but for somebody going butt up to the skirting boards, it would matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our existing ones and we have to lay that actually on where you're doing it, where you're going to cut it. So it's right on, including your design strip. That's important. You've got to keep it with your design strip. So you're laying it completely square. And we're going to take another one and we're going to then butt that up against the wall without moving the one below it. Line it up again. Going to get it nice and close because we can. And then we're just going to go along this line here with the Stanley knife. So I found that with cutting these tiles, like if I'm going in deep, the first cut, it will just skew off all over the place. I don't know if there's a knack to it, but certainly for me, it seems that if I score it lightly first, it gives a little bit of a trench to like keep the blade in next time. So try that now. We've got to be careful with our knees, don't cut them off. We just slice across nice and gentle this time. Get a bit harder the next time, and a bit harder again. And you've only got to cut through the top layer, so that what Karndean described as the toughened layer. And once you're through that, the rest of it just like falls apart and snaps. So I mean, by design, I'm sure. I'm not saying it's a bad product, but then this one, snap it. That's your piece you're keeping. I'm pretty sure that's right. And then you should be able to turn around so your cut edges on that side, which will go up against the wall. This edge here should then fit rather nicely into there. So you've got a nice, perfect lay. So what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting all the pieces, and like I'm going to then pile them up so that I'm ready to go, and then I'm going to like throw on the adhesive, just trowel it out with my A2 trowel, and then I'm going to lay it all in kind of one go, so a swift movement. So get it all cut first. I don't know if that's how you're normally supposed to do it. I don't know. So I've decided with the design strips, because that's the kind of point of this, is that the design strips make it a bit more complicated. So what I've been doing is, because I know that this line across is straight, I've been going with a full strip on that, and then basically cutting this bit down just to sort of the right length of like within this. But the design strips are they're a little bit more tricky than like the actual tiles, because design strips, you tend to find that at the end of when you've snapped it, you end up with like a bit of a feathered edge, which if you butt that up against another one with a feathered edge, it's going to give you a tiny little gap in it, which like is not what you want with this type of flooring. So what I've been doing is what they advise on the Karndean website, and when they tell you to cut the edge tiles, they tell you to cut it and then give it a slight undercut, so you're cutting off the bottom part of the tile at a bit of a diagonal, which allows you to then butt the hard surface, the protective layer, up against each other, and should cause quite a nice little bond between the two. So I've kind of been trying to keep all the bits from the floor so that I don't have to do too much prep. I've just been slicing through, undercutting them. Each time I need to butt up the ends. Obviously the ones that Karndean have cut themselves, they seem to be relatively well cut, so I've not been bothering with most of those, but some of them have had a little bit of feathering which I've just cut off, but you just take it as you go. So I've now got basically half tile I need, but I'm starting kind of at that end, so I'll be doing the next one, which is the radiator cut, so fingers crossed. So I've now got my half tile, which I've been doing. The half tiles have all been along this this side so far, and that's the way I'm going to continue, because that's going to be, this side over here is going to be on the cabinets, so kind of less relevant. But I want it all laid with the Karndean, just so that it gives a nice waterproof layer to stop any leaks. I mean, the washing machine is in there, so anything could happen. So I've got my half tile. I'm going to line it up with the edge of this one, and now I've found that I'm right on the edge, and this is kind of by design, kind of a happy accident, but I want to take out a little chunk out of here, but I want that to be as close cut to the radiator as I can, so it'll cover any sort of sub-hole, which I've got a bit more of a sub-hole there, which won't matter once you've actually got it in, so, because this is pretty solid when you've got a small distance of a bit of a hole. So, so I line it up. I'm just going to mark it with a pencil of where we're actually going to go. I know that they're my edges, and I have a drill bit which I've used for a stack pipe over there, or a waste pipe, and I know that I can then lay it down. I can measure out how far away that's going to be. And I now know that if I use that drill bit, which is the right size, it's a 15mm pipe, I can then cut around that, drill into this this tile, obviously not on the floor, and it'll take out a nice circular hole. So. So I've cut my new piece. Now it should, fingers crossed, drop straight in, and then I can make my cut on the next bead there, the design strip. Right, so now I've come to the point where I need to do my radiator cut for the other side. So what I've done is I've already cut my half square, and I'm going to mark it out. So I can put the set square on there to get a straight line, draw it out. I am. So I'm going to drill that to give me a circle. What I've done is I've also cut there to give me a slot to slide it in. You should pop in there. So as you can see, we've finished the floor now. This is dry laying it, there's no adhesive been used yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack it up at the end of each row, and I'm going to start laying that afterwards. So you can see that there's a couple of little gaps at the moment, but those will all get sorted out once we've actually glued them in. And like I said before, no skirting, so I don't have to worry too much about the edges, so I can push these up so they meet in the middle, and it makes it look much better. But even now, looks quite good. Pretty happy with how it's going. So let's get on with the adhesive. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick it up, but in a nice orderly fashion. So what I'm going to do is pick it up row by row, stack it up outside so that I can then bring it back in. So I'll keep it all in the right order in different piles. So I literally just grab the next pile so that I lay a row. So we've got to keep the design strips with it, and we'll try and keep them in the right order as well. So the idea will be sort of stacking it up with the design strips between it. So it's literally just pick the top one off the pile every time, and then you've got the right one with the right length, and that should keep them all in order, like so. Right, I've given the room a quick sweep. That gets rid of all the little tiny bits that we've cut off of the Karndean. And I've also, you may have noticed, I had to remove the door. I'll trim the door afterwards so it fits perfectly with the Karndean. It makes it a lot easier. Probably should have done that first. So, tools we're going to need for our job. We have our A2 trowel. You see the notches in that are perfectly designed to be able to do the correct depth of adhesive. And I've bought this universal adhesive by Karndean, specifically designed for the flooring we are about to lay. So I've watched a couple of videos on this. It's slap a bit of the adhesive down, make sure you leave the open time. So obviously you don't put any more than the 5-minute open time that it says on the tin. On the back of the tin it says 5 minutes, online it says 15, so I'm going to try it with 5 because I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to lay a couple of rows in 5 minutes. So try that and see how it goes. So maybe do a small area, see how long it takes, and then maybe we can do some bigger areas afterwards with the 5-minute window. So. Okay, so here goes nothing. This is the bit that I've been dreading, and the bit I think will determine the end result. Obviously the cutting, like I've got the benefit of the no surround, so not had to worry too much about cutting it too accurately. But now it's the sticking down, we need it all to join and be a nice line and all align up nicely. So fingers crossed. I'm going to see how far I need to come out. So I know it needs to come to roughly there, so probably the width of the trowel out. Try not to get it all over the old tiles before we start. And then I should be able to just scrape it across like that. And we try not to get it in front of the tile, as I said. Go all the way to the edges, because obviously the edges will determine how nicely it sticks. And it should just be a case of getting it on, make sure you go all the way to the edge. Hold the trowel upright to give you these lines, and it should give you a nice, the right amount of the adhesive that you need in order for it to stick according to the manual, which, as I keep getting told, the Karndean warranty is not valid if you do not get a qualified Karndean installer. But to me, this is why I thought I did a video. It's a DIY product. There's no reason it can't be a DIY product. And the fact that nobody puts anything out there is probably because Karndean don't want their installers to be putting videos of how to do it. To be fair, the Karndean installers probably don't want to be putting that out either. So you can see that. Wipe that off. We've gone out far enough. Almost. No. Try popping that down. So now then, on the instructions it says to have a roller. So instead of a roller, I've got a piece of pipe that was in my garden. I've sanded it down, I've wiped it down so that it's all nice, and I should hopefully be able to just get in there, roll that down, putting a bit of weight on it, just so that it makes sure that that's sticking it, pushing it down, letting that glue. Go. So, with the design strips, I've been told you're supposed to drop them in rather than squidge them up to it, so try to avoid sliding. Right, pop them on top, and then it should be a case of just getting the next one. Probably keep the lid on that, try not to stop some air getting into it. The next tile in, make sure it's all the way out to the corner, and then you just drop it in. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. So we make sure we get these to meet, so that there's a nice, push them together, make sure they're right into that corner, and that should go in very nicely indeed. So make sure that this line meets as well here, otherwise you'll end up with the next design strip not working so well. So this should also squeeze out some air bubbles underneath as before, but in reality make sure you run your finger along those design strips, and that should be going quite nicely. Next one in. There. As I said before, never done this before in my life. It's just a case of trying to work out what works and trying to use your noodle and trying to get it to be a bit of a cheaper job, because the Karndean itself is not cheap. Obviously installing it is the bit that for me costs the money, which is something, being semi-competent myself, I wouldn't say fully competent, but semi-competent, I can just have a go with things. So on there, should drop very nicely indeed into that part there. You can see there's no gaps there. This is a nice beautiful straight line, which the design strip from the next line should be able to fit in with, and get that roller on a go. So if you see any glue popping out the gaps, just wipe it off with your finger. I mean, this stuff seems, it's very, very similar to PVA glue with regard to its consistency. I don't know whether it's going to stick my hands to my jeans eventually, but I imagine it's much the same as PVA, just probably a slightly stronger bond and something that's designed specifically to work with the Karndean products. So, right. So I suspect that actually when laying these, pushing the tiles up will give you a better way of compressing it all together so there's less gaps. So I'm going to get on with laying the rest of it, and we'll see you on the other side. So after finishing laying the floor, I've rolled the whole floor with the Snip Out and Peep, bit of surrealism art humour for you there. So I've rolled the whole floor with that to try and stick down anything, because there were a couple of bits that popped up slightly after laying, and then found that they stuck when it got a bit tackier. So, and then basically, I think the worst gap I've got is currently that at the bottom, which I'm not really too bothered about. I think that's probably all right, considering it'll be on the cupboards as well. So that's it. The utility room floor is done.